Reb Shimon's Yesod. So we're going to discuss several points. You have something that's an Isser D'Oraisa, forbidden from the Bible, from God directly. That's an Isser Heftze. The object itself is forbidden. Imagine you have something that's treif, like pork. The pork itself is forbidden. So what happens if you damage it by mistake? Then you do not have to repay the value of the object, because according to Reb Shimon's Yesod, it's worthless to the owner. He can't eat the pork, and so if you damage his ability to eat it, then there's nothing to repay. Let's say that there's some unkosher hamburger that you're not allowed to eat, and you accidentally buy it. It was accidentally sold to you as kosher. You take it home, you eat it. It's as if you ate nothing. You get your money back. You went to buy a kosher hamburger, you got non-kosher hamburger instead. If you take such and mekadesh a woman with it, the value of her eating it, you are not married to her. She is not married. If you cook it on Yom Tov, a holiday when you are only allowed to cook food that you're going to eat, then you are over the prohibition of cooking on Yom Tov. Let's say instead we're talking about something that's forbidden only by the rabbis, an Isser D'Rabbanan. Then that's what's called an Isser Gavra. It's an Isser on the person, not on the thing, but on the person. So the Nesivis is going to define this and explain this as being, there's no Isser Heftze, there's no prohibition on the thing itself. The rabbis told you not to eat it. Let's say chicken and cheese or something. So if you damage it, you do have to repay. If you do eat it, you don't get a refund. And the Nesivis adds a little kanech, a little point here, that if you're over an Isser D'Rabbanan b'shogeg by mistake, you do not have to do tshuva. You never got the message, and there's nothing inherently wrong with doing it. And Isser D'Oraisa is reverse, because if you ate it, there's an Isser on, the prohibition on the thing itself, and you're not allowed to do it. So, for example, something that's bishul akum, something that's cooked by a non-Jew and forbidden rabbinically to eat it. It's something that's suitable for a king's table or to be served at a wedding. Those are two different things, but very similar. It's not the kosher food, it's the rabbis who told you not to eat it. So why is it that if something is prohibited by the rabbis and you do it by accident, you don't have to do tshuva? What's the idea? Imagine that your father is in the Congo and he tells you to sing at noontime. And you never get the message. You really didn't violate anything. You didn't do anything wrong failing to sing at noontime. The Shev Shemaitza says there's a machlokus between the Rambam. The Rambam is supposed to be pronounced with the accent on the first syllable. Ben Mayaman. Rambam. Alphabetically, M comes before N. Rambam. As opposed to the Ramban, N comes before M. Ramban ben Nachman. Those two rabbis. So if you hear it in the yeshiva from a distance, Rambam, you don't really have to hear the last consonant to know that they're talking about Ben Maimon, the more famous Rambam, Maimonides. As opposed to Ramban, that's Ben Nachman, the accent is on the second syllable. So the Rambam, he says every Isser D'Rabbanan is an Isser D'Oraisa. The Torah, Hashem told us to listen to the rabbis, and therefore it's an Isser D'Oraisa. Okay. Rabbi Reisman says, the Ramban argues, why every D'Rabbanan is not also a deraisa? That's a good question. There are sources. Second step. What about, this is a new topic, twin to the first topic. It's going to sound almost the same. What about a suffix deraisa, a biblical command that you're not sure about? Is this pork or not? Well, you can usually taste it. Is this treif meat or not? Not kosher meat, not kosher hamburger. You cannot tell by tasting it. So what about a suffix, a doubt? Not sure. The labels were removed. Who knows? The maid wasn't sure which one she bought, and then she cooked it, and packaging has been thrown out, and trash is. So Rav Shimon's Yesod is suffix deraisa. You're not sure about it. It's also a deraisa. It's also prohibited by the Torah for sure. So there's a question. What if you have something that's a suffix? You're not sure if this is kosher or not from the Torah. Is that a prohibition on the thing or on the person? An iser cheftza or an iser gavra, on meat? So how do you check? How do you find out? Well, Rav Reisman says you take out the Shulchan Aruch and you look up the nafkaminas, the practical differences. Mekadosh and Isha, you got married to a woman with this thing. So what are the possibilities? So let's take two examples. I need an example for when she's not married, and for an example, well, she will be married. So what, given our previous discussion, would she not be married with it? I give something to a woman to be married to her with this thing, and we're going to say she's not married. What would be such a thing? Chametz on Pesach. You can't benefit from Chametz on Pesach in any way. So therefore, there's nothing to give her. In contrast, what would be an Isser D'Rabbanan? We said earlier, by weddings in king's tables, Bishul Akum, things that could be served on a king's table or at a wedding, those are prohibited to be cooked by a non-Jew unless a Jew participates in some way. So if you were to try to marry a woman with chametz, she's not married, and if you try to marry something that was cooked Bishul Akum, a nice steak was cooked by a non-Jew completely, Jew didn't participate at all, then you are married, even though you shouldn't have used that. So if someone sells suffix deraisa meat, example, meat that might not have been shechted properly, and he sells it anyway by mistake, whatever, does the customer get his money back after he ate it? You go to the store, you get some nice some meat that you thought was fully kosher, and you take it home, you ate it, and it turned out it was not shechted. It was a suffix as to whether it was shechted properly or not. So do you get your money back? So the question boils down is it a Isser Cheftza on the thing or Isser Gavra on the person? So whatever the answer to that is, that suffix deraisa kasha, that's your answer. So Rav Reisman says, does he get his money back? If we can find this pshat in halacha, we'll know the din. So Rav Shimon brings a shach in Yeridea, Siman Kuf Yud Tes. The shach paskin, if he eats it, he's not entitled to his money back. So working backwards, if the shach says he's not entitled to his money back, then suffix deraisa meat, is that an Isser Cheftza or an Isser Gavra? Well, it seems like an Isser Cheftza. Zetman Klar, Zacht Rav Shimon, suffix deraisa is not an Isser Cheftza, which is the other direction. It seems connected against the shach. You can't say the Cheftza is an Isser, that's a suffix. You can't say that you know for sure that the meat is Isser, it might be kosher. So that's a suffix. So where's the prohibition? The prohibition's on an Isser Gavra, which means that you do have to pay. You're not allowed to take chances. So he did not make it, by making it into a suffix, he did not make it into an Isser Cheftza. Now we do have some other cases. Let's say there's rov, a majority, we're not sure, but the majority is kosher. You can be somech on rov. You can go by rov and according to certain procedures. If it's chazaka, it's been that way for a long period of time, or whatever, or from the beginning, or at the end. You can go by. You can be somech on chazaka, status quo, according to certain rules. But if it's a 50-50 safek, a 50-50 doubt, then safek deraisa l'chumra, if you're not sure on a Torah matter, it's an aveira on the gavra. It's on the person. The tzuras aveira is an aveira on the gavra. The Torah says you're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to do it. Whatever it is, kosher or not, since you're in safek about this thing, you, the gavra, the person, are not allowed to do it. A person is not allowed to take a chance. So this is Rav Shimon's second yesod. He holds that if you mekadesh an isha with safek deraisa, she will be mekadeshes. It's a safek on you. What if it was safek chametz, and it's really chametz? But this is Rav Shimon's second yesod. If you buy and eat safek deraisa meat, you don't get your money back. It's just in the Gavra. If you cook safek deraisa on Yom Tov, you're not over Isser Bishul because it's not an Isser Chavtza of Sam Hamavis. It's not the thing itself is not poison. Sam Hamavis. The object itself is whatever it is. It hasn't changed. The Rambam Shita is that safek deraisa l'chumra is only an Isser D'Rabbanan. And on that side, Rav Shimon would have no safek that certainly every Isser D'Rabbanan is only an Isser Gavra. Rav Shimon's Chiddush is even like the Rav Rishonim, who hold that every safek deraisa l'chumra is an Isser Torah. Still, even then, he holds it's not an Isser Chetza, it's only an Isser Gavra.